What kind of a year would it be without a remake? Live-action Disney remake number 2 of 5 in actual fact. The Mouse House has been churning out these things for a few years now, and let's give them credit, they've been more hit than miss. It seemed inevitable that Aladdin would come down the pipeline eventually, given its premise and popularity, though I'm not sure the studio anticipated as much of a backlash after the initial trailer went out. But let's not forget the original had a rough production itself, with an entire rewrite ordered just 19 months before release. Both movies overcame significant hurdles to become massively successful. They're both diamonds in the rough, if you will. But which is the better film? Aladdin 1992 or Aladdin 2019?
Full disclosure, we Doopy Bros love Aladdin 92. Along with The Lion King, remake coming later this year, it was one of our favourites as kids. Heck, I could probably still recite the whole movie, sound effects and all. But this is what the filmmakers are relying on to fill seats. Nostalgia and familiarity for the parents, action and special effects for the kids. It's like we're living in one of those annoying Lego games, for God's sake. But we know Disney loves money, so as long as these movies at least try to be entertaining, we're all happy watching the same thing over and over and over again, right? As if acknowledging the audience's familiarity, the remake condenses a lot of the initial plot elements into a slender intro montage set to the tune of Arabian Nights, with Will Smith sounding suspiciously like he's using Arabian autotune.
Everyone's present and accounted for, with the only real divergence being Agrabah's more of a port city this time. While Aladdin was always more of a traditional fairy tale than a lot of other Disney classics, it's not a Shakespearean animal drama, there are complex set pieces in the movie that make a live-action recreation more challenging, with the first hurdle being that catchy number One Jump Ahead. Guy Ritchie navigates the action well enough, though you can't help but feel a little underwhelmed considering those crazy elusive maneuvers Aladdin pulls off in the original. Whereas previous live-action remakes were able to expand on their bare-bones source material, like 2016's Jungle Book, that effect is actually reversed in Aladdin, a movie that was already very well fleshed out.
One of the great things about animation, especially one involving magic, is that you can stretch reality, getting away with all sorts of physics-breaking off-the-wall shenanigans because, well, it's a cartoon. There's no denying Aladdin 2019 falls short in this area simply because it tries to emulate its predecessor. Like Aladdin's Getaway, there are several moments ripped straight from the original which just don't translate well to live action, particularly this scene, but more on that in a moment. The irony is that the new stuff they came up with actually works really well, but beholden as they are to the source material, they had to include certain beats. Some portions are literally recreated line for line, and it's during these moments that the remake feels most clunky, and even a little cringy at times.
In terms of plot, the remake sticks closely to the original. It is a very solid film after all. One of those rare movies where everything, the songs, characters, voice artists, and animation work perfectly in harmony. But you know that. You've seen it. Guy Ritchie expands the narrative with an additional 40 minutes of material, used to fill in some grey areas, like whether or not Aladdin actually used all 3 of his wishes, and expanding on characters like Jasmine and Genie to give them much more agency. We weren't too keen on the updated song lyrics, but for the most part Ritchie's additions really pay off. The cynics might complain about Jasmine's expanded arc, what with Disney seemingly hell-bent on force-feeding us strong females, but the new material is very much in line with the character, and to be fair, she's more on a par with Belle or Mulan than she ever was in the original. Even though this is technically ancient Arabia and liberal mentalities don't really apply. Or is it 10,000 years in the future? In which case, fair enough.
And this is where we address the elephant in the room. And no, we're not talking about Abu's transformation. It's no secret that Robin Williams' turn as the big blue lout is a large part of what made the original so delightful. Just try to imagine the genie as someone else. Oh wait, you don't have to, they tried that with Homer Simpson. No disrespect to the other voice actors in the films, but the genie is the linchpin that holds everything together, and the same is true in the remake. In this sense, casting Will Smith was a very shrewd move by Disney. Despite his star waning, he's still a draw for audiences. But damn, those Williams shoes are some big mothers to fill. We're happy to say Smith, for the most part, does an excellent job. No, he's not Robin Williams, but he is Will Smith, and his charm and easy charisma definitely shine. Perhaps more so than in years. He doesn't play it the same as Williams, and who really could? There's not enough white powder in the world. But he does bring star power and an assured comic timing to a relatively young and inexperienced cast.
On the downside, not all his jokes land, and there are definitely some major issues with the CGI. This could be down to Ritchie's inexperience in the effects world, but some of Smith's scenes are very distracting. The film's at its strongest when the cast appear together, as humans. Speaking of which, Masood and Scott do incredibly well in the 2 leads. even if perhaps they don't have as much chemistry as their animated counterparts. In fact, other than the effects, the film is only really lacking in the villain department. Marwan Kenzari hams it up as Jafar, and despite his best efforts, never truly comes across as a threatening, deranged xenopsychopath, and he isn't a patch on Jonathan Freeman's voice work in the original. Iago's a missed opportunity as well. It's unlikely Gilbert Gottfried would have been topped, but why hire a voice actor of Alan Tudyk's caliber when Iago's relegated to a creepy spy? The scenes between Jafar and Iago produce some of the original's funniest moments and help provide levity when the film's at its darkest.
For all the positives, the remake is guilty of a few excesses. The costume and set design were, at times, offensive to the eyeballs. At certain points, it seemed as though sequins of every imaginable colour had been vomited all over the frame, making it difficult to distinguish between the many characters on screen. In fact, all of that criticism so far are drawn together neatly in one example, the Prince Ali number. It's hard not to get swept up in the original's playful, voice-altering, anachronistic set piece. Agrabah and the audience are introduced to Prince Ali by the best hype man ever, Genie. But in the remake, well, some of this crap is just plain strange. Ostrich riding, anyone? It all seems a bit too contrived, trying to ape the original, but again, certain shots just don't work in live action. Perhaps Guy Ritchie wasn't the most obvious choice to direct given his inexperience in the effects-driven, choreographed musical landscape. For all its faults though, Aladdin 2019 is a damn charming film, having bounced back from the online backlash and subsequent critical mauling. For us doopies though, surpassing the original was always going to be a tough task. Even after almost 30 years, it's a film that delivers on practically every level. There's just no comparison. Aladdin 92 is an absolute classic, making it our winner.
So there you have it, folks. By order of the doopies, the original's our winner. But what do you think? Do you love the remake? Do you think we're stuck in the past? Share your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that stupid little bell button. Here's a couple more videos from our channel, including this theory we made about Genie from the original movie. Thanks for watching.